this is your time, guys. We have a little more than an hour. The only thing I'm going to do at the very end is just make some announcements, and then we will head over to the Holiday Inn. I don't know if you guys realize the power of this group that we have up here, but yeah, exactly. So I'm going to come back in an hour. Let me know how it was. I'm going to head. Why is my breathing? So it's like. The only one we don't have is Greg Jacobs. So if you guys happen to see Greg, come up in here when we're doing this, let's just, point at him and get him up on stage because I would love to have him up here too. But your time, any topic. It doesn't have to be the things that we talked about this weekend. It could be whatever you want to talk about with the business. Up to you. And as you'll see, especially when we have this big of a panel, you'll start on something and we can go to different tangents and down some pigeonholes and whatnot, and I think it's going to be very valuable to you. So when you come up, we'll take turns, we'll go back and forth. You don't have to make the long line, just have a few people come up at a time here. And if you can, direct your question to one of our experts. And I think you guys know who everyone is. Tom Lynn, you might not recognize him, but hopefully you got a chance to talk to him this weekend. Brian Johnson, I don't know if you guys know Brian Johnson or not, but you should because he is probably the most active person in our Facebook group. I'm serious. Have you seen some of the replies that he puts into the Facebook? That's Brian Johnson. Thank you, Brian, for all your work. He told me, he goes, I should put more time into my business. Because he's always, he's got the heart to help others. That's what we all are here. So let's get started. Who wants to come up and have the first question? Looks like it's going to be Richie. So just hit the power button on that. We're good to go. Go ahead, Richie, whenever you're ready.
All right, we're good. Okay, I got 3 questions here.
You take one, and then we'll pass it around.
Okay. Yeah. So first one, regarding Amazon PPC. So if I want to set up a manual campaign, how many keywords would be optimal? Because some people will do 1,000 long-tail keyword phrases to catch just about everyone. So is anyone doing that, and would that be advantageous?
Who would you think you want to direct that question to? Just take a guess.
Let's see.
Ooh. I asked him, Janae, not me.
Chris, I'm going to direct that to you because you've been doing Shane, you...
Pass on the mic. Pass on the mic.
Dave, I want you to answer that. You're doing so much volume on sponsored ads.
Say the question again, Rich.
All right, so I want to make a manual campaign, 1,000 long-tail keywords, just to catch as many people as possible.
Okay, this is where the answer is going to go down a different direction. That worked over a year ago. In fact, it was, and I'm going to start throwing dates out here, in the end of May of last year, 2014, put up 4 or 5 new products at once, right before I left on my Hawaii trip that time. When I was in Hawaii, it hit stock, we got some reviews, and I was like, we're here for 2 weeks, let me throw some keywords at this. So I took like 3 hours and put about 1,000 keywords up for those 4 or 5 products. That took me from 100,000 K to 285 in a month. That changed at the end of July of the same year. So it lasted for about a month and a half, and then Amazon changed everything. You guys are all new to Amazon. Most of you guys are. They took what used to be a specific exact match for Amazon sponsored ads, and they changed it to broad match, because they had this whole idea that they were going to start going to this new thing called auto-targeting, which didn't exist until just after August of September last year. So they started changing the game. When they changed the game, I went from 290,000 a month to 90,000 a month. Thank you, Amazon. Gotta love that. Well, at least I didn't go to 0, which Peter always talks about 0. I never hit the 0, but they changed the game. Right? So we had to adjust the game. And so nowadays, it isn't as effective. And the reason why I wouldn't just throw up 1,000 keywords, even if they were, first of all, you'd want to go through and test, and the way we teach in the course is exactly the way to do it, which is to have your auto-targeted campaign find the keywords that are converting and then take the converting keywords and then put them into your manual campaign. Nowadays, if you take 1,000 keywords and you put it up into a manual campaign, what it's going to do is it's going to bring down your conversions, it's going to bring down everything because your conversion is just going to be dropping. So the benefit that you're going to get from the keywords might be initially okay, but then it's going to drop, and then your sales are going to drop, and it's going to hurt you more than it's going to help you. So does that answer your question?
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, if anyone wants to add anything. So Shane wants to, Janae, you want to add something first? Go ahead.
Before the next question, I just wanted to say thank you to our light and sound engineer, Tim.
Yes, thank you, Tim, for all your hard work.
Okay. We haven't had a lot of issues, so I'm really grateful. Thank you.
I'm grateful I didn't have to run it. The last time we had it with amongst ourselves, we had to run it ourselves. Shane, you want to add to that one?
I just want to make a note on that whole Amazon PPC thing. Now, we always used to do that auto-targeting, pull out the keywords, throw them in a manual. I don't even bother with the manual keywords anymore. It's probably good when you're first starting, but I don't know. I find that it affects my conversion rate too much. So what I do now is I just run the auto-targeting. I pull out all the good keywords. I use them all my listing and all that kind of good stuff that we've been trained to do. I don't even bother running manual anymore, except for things like if I want to rank for Spanish keywords, I might have an auto manual targeting for that. Things like that. I just find that it'll take me about 2 months to get the ACOS down to a pretty darn good level. And then I just turn down the volume on the PPC and my ranking stays the same. And I go from paying 30, 40% of advertising down to 25, down to 15, down to 10. I typically float between 5 and 10%. Total. Like if I look at my sales, so if I had $3,000 in one day, I would have spent $100, $150, somewhere in there. Reasonable, very reasonable. But it takes a little while to do it. It'll seem very expensive at first, but that's what I've found. And maybe it's just the categories I'm in. Just with the automatic, I don't even bother with the manual anymore. Yeah.
Robert, how much you spend in a month in Amazon ads across all your accounts?
Would you believe very little? Again, our research process is slightly different, so therefore we don't have that same requirement to drive, but we always use Amazon PPC because it's a cost-effective method of bringing in additional sales. But I would say on average we probably spend less than $3,000 across all of our countries.
A day?
Sorry?
A day?
Per month.
A month?
A month.
And your sales volume approximately across all the accounts was the question over there? 1.5 million a month.
When
That's a pretty good ACOS. A year?
A year.
Ah. Yeah.
When you're running your PPC on the UK, for example, what kind of conversion are you getting if you have 0 reviews, or are you just waiting for some reviews to come in, or is it all right if you have just your US reviews?
It's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. What happens is, I think I was actually speaking with somebody, your .com reviews will show up in the .co.uk. They just will not have their number attached to them. So let's say you've got 45 reviews in .com. The end consumer can see the review. It just will not say 45 reviews and the star rating.
So you find that even though they're .com reviews, they still help with conversion for your PPC. So
Yeah, absolutely,
right.
because you've got it's the common language. So even though there's a few words and things, people can still see.
Right.
We also wouldn't generally see any correlation between, reviews and a conversion.
Sales. Okay, that's my question. So if I have a new product on the UK, has no reviews even on Amazon because it's a cultural product just for the UK,
Yep.
I could just fire off the campaign and not worry about reviews yet.
Yeah, I mean, Traditionally, whenever we're launching a product, we never try and get 5 reviews or 10 reviews. We started off at 0, and it
Yeah,
builds.
I think as well though, sometimes people forget about the listing, you know, because everyone's like, oh, PPC and all these things, which is great. But if your listing sucks, you're not going to convert, so who cares, right? So my focus in our business is to make sure we've got really good listings, and optimizing your listing and your back-end keywords as well is something I don't think is talked about a whole lot. Enough, I don't think. I know ASN does a good job of it as well, but I mean, to me, if you can optimize your listing, well, okay, if you can, you know, bring in a lot of PPC traffic, great, because it's going to convert, but then if you have a bad listing, it doesn't matter how much you're going to throw at it, it's a waste of money. So that's all I'd say.
I think as well, you know, going right back to the start of e-commerce, I'm old enough to remember it, and you know, it's always that thing. The difference between retail and online is the fact that your consumer cannot touch your product. So Stephen says, doing your listing, you almost want to get it to the stage where the consumer can almost touch the product. They feel that they've got it in front of them. You know, your product photography, you can see that the likes of ourselves, whenever we have, you know, 6, 7, 8 photographs on a product, of course we're going to convert better than somebody that's just put up one photograph of something that's not very good. You know, that's definitely true. You know, the listing really does count.
Okay, cool. Nick?
I was going to say something on conversion. Oh yeah, the other thing as well is to be aware of on conversions is your category you're selling in. That's got a big bearing on conversion from what we've seen. We used to sell a lot of consumer electronics accessories products, and you know, we still have some really big sellers there in different countries. We might do like between 9 and 12%, you know, conversion. But now in like we do more storage kind of related items. We've got products there that are as much as 30, 35%, isn't that right? Yeah, so, you know, it all depends on your category too, because especially in consumer electronics accessories, it's mostly people are coming on and then they're like, does that fit my particular item? And then you get a big bounce rate, so that can also impact you as well. So don't feel like, what's the average conversion rate? I don't know if there is an average conversion rate. I think it depends on your category. Nice.
All right, next question.
All right, this is just like a generic question for whoever wants to take it, but we've learned a lot of great stuff this weekend, so I'm just wondering if somebody wants to talk about what they might have seen this weekend that they're going to implement in the next 90 days or something that they really liked, what they're going to implement and why in their business.
Good question.
If anybody
Who
wants
wants to take that?
I would expand to Europe.
I'd revisit the bullet points in the format that I use based on Dana's recommendations.
Mine would also be expanding to Europe and also doing some of the strategies that Janae talked about as well.
I'll be loading all of my videos through Hangouts on air before I put them on YouTube.
I'm going to follow Paul Sinclair's model to a T and launch more products.
I'm going to hire some more employees to do all this crap we learned. 'Cause I don't understand half of it. I'm kidding. I really think we should do all of it. I think the Amazon S3, having it linked to a video is very powerful. We should always be looking at your listing, always re-optimizing, always getting new photos. One thing I like to do with a lot of my products is, sure, you got some great photos, been selling for 6 months. Well, now I start to do seasonal photos. So in the autumn, I got some with some leaves, and I got some Christmas ones in there. Kind of roll with the seasons, just like, you know, the big retailers do, right? You walk into Ralph Lauren, they're set up for the season, man. You feel like gold in there for a reason. So, or at least I do. But yeah, do it all. It's all an evolution.
Yeah, I would actually have to agree with that. Everything that was presented today, there's something that you can take from all of it and implement, you know. So those are just the 2 priorities that I'm going to do, but pretty much everything, I took notes on everybody's presentation, and there's something that you can get from all of it.
I'm going to breathe more and smile more.
I'm gonna hang out with these guys more. What do you think? That's, well, most of everybody.
At the same time, when I say that, do it all, obviously you can't do it all at once. And I think that's something we try and teach. When you're just getting started, you're going to open this social media and that social media and do press releases. And, well, you're going to do it all poorly. Just start with one thing, the thing you can do, the easiest, tackle it, get good at it, move on to the next one. You know, so maybe make a list of all the stuff you've done and say, what's the stuff I can do right away? What's the easiest for me to check off that list and feel good about? Do that. Then move on to the next one.
That's exactly right. And just to reiterate just what Shane did, 'cause that's what I was going to say. This after everything's so fresh in our mind, especially you guys with all the new material. I mean, there's a lot of things here that obviously we know a lot of these things that we hear. We just don't always have time to implement it, and we forget it and we move on. Like even when Janae was speaking, that was this morning, I think. It was a long time ago. She's talked about the coupon site thing. I was like, oh my gosh, totally forgot about that. I have it on a list somewhere. So for me, my biggest thing that I'm going to do, and I'll start this tomorrow and Monday, is I will make that list, prioritize it, what's going to be the biggest bang for the buck, and you know, as a focus to get things ready for the Christmas shopping season. Because that's, if you just did well the Christmas shopping season, just 5 or 6 weeks, you would make more money than most people working a full-time job. That's just the facts, okay? So specifically, our goal was to have 20 products new by the beginning of November, be in the UK, Germany, which I hear now it's pretty announced, that's kind of like one, that makes it a lot easier for me because I said Germany, UK, Japan, so now it's like 2 instead of 3, so that makes it a little easier, all by the beginning of November. So that's where I'm going to be.
Yeah, just one more thing I would say in terms of more of a mental framework to be thinking. We talk about this a lot, and I was talking to some of the guys in the hallway, and they were they got their calculators out pretty quickly. But one thing we talk about is something we call a rule of 5. And this is really, I know Dave and you guys were talking about this, I think it was yesterday, we weren't here unfortunately. But what I would say is, if you've got 5 products, you sell those 5 products in 5 countries, like what we were talking about. You sell 5 units per product per day per country. It's a bit of a mouthful. And then you look at it, an average net profit of $5, just to give it a rule of 5. Well, that in a month, actually, net profit is $18,750 or $225,000 in 12 months. That's for 5 products. So what the guys are saying now, the model is changing to like not try and go for the home run necessarily on one product, but do what Dave's saying, like they're expanding 20 products between now and Christmas. Don't be afraid to have more products and expand horizontally and go into more markets, because you'll be amazed with a small number of sales from a few products, just how fast you can build up a lot of profit in the business. So, don't go for the home run necessarily straight away.
There's one more thing I'm going to do when I get back. I'm going to raise about $10 million from crowdfunding, and then I'm going to call my good friend Tom and tell him to get that product.
And Tom, I hope Tom says here that he's going to be focused on helping us all get our products here in the next couple of weeks. That's what you're going to say, Tom, right?
I'm also doing crowdfunding, so you have to wait after me. I don't sell on Amazon, but I'm from the other side. I supply. But we have hundreds and hundreds of customers selling on Amazon, and most people only have 1 or 2 products. So basically, I came here just because Dave said he's having a meeting. I said, oh, why not? But I learned a lot that I could help my customers. First thing I'll do, get 5 products, at least, and try to get 1 home run, and 4 that doesn't get cuts. So but I learned quite a lot here today over the past 2 days, and it's been great meeting all you people. I met quite a few already, and thanks Dave and Peter for inviting me and having me here. Thank you.
I just realized we might have a problem here. Are you becoming an Amazon seller now? Whoa, hang on. He was in the hallway. He didn't know about that.
No, I consciously chose not to do Amazon because I know myself. I can only do one thing well, if I try to do two things, I'll do two things badly. So even though I'm Dave's supplier, and I saw his margins, it tempted me like crazy. I was like I'm making here, and Dave is like 500% or more. Whoa. You know, it tempted me. I almost opened an account because of you. But then I realized I don't know Amazon. It took me a year. I changed industries. I started doing eBay. After a few years, I changed to wholesale. I saw there was, my path was in wholesale. And it took me a full year and about 150,000 USD to start earning money on wholesale. So I put a lot of work into it. Now I'm doing it very well. So I will not do Amazon. I will not be your competitor. If I would, you'd be in trouble.
Although he might end up being the biggest affiliate for our team because he's going to be promoting through me, through us for the ASM 6. Because he said, we have all these sellers that have no idea what they're doing, that they need this information. So, you know, that's going to be something that's going to be interesting too. And it's going to help us all grow. So
my question is about the sourcing. Like many of us, you know, as you mentioned, 60% don't even have a product live yet, and there could be many reasons, like they didn't find the product, or maybe it took time for sourcing the product. So my question is, we do not have a sourcing agent in China. So, and when we order something from Alibaba, let's say, we order the sample, it will take a week to come, and then we decide which one is fine, and then it take maybe 30 to 45 days to get the first inventory. So what about going the route of, you know, AliExpress, where, you know, the product is almost ready. Maybe it's a little bit higher, but they simply, you know, they ship it to you like in a week or so. So is it a better approach to, you know, test the product, get like 100 units, test it, and then, you know, maybe get more from Alibaba or maybe from China, or still, you know, what are your thoughts on this?
With AliExpress, it's retail. So they will not have the wholesale volume there. And AliExpress supplier, which can be open for no money, you don't have to have a company. It's probably a guy sitting in his flat selling it. So he won't have the resources around it to supply you wholesale. If you want a private labeling, he will not be able to do it. My recommendation, find a supplier, find a trading company that can better manage, you know, what you need, what your needs are. Yep.
Yeah, and also remember, if it's easy for somebody to do, for you to do, it's easy for everybody to do. So I wouldn't recommend doing things that are quote unquote easy all the time, or the quick approach, because then it's like when, you know, back in the day of internet marketing, everyone was getting into affiliate marketing at the time because everyone thought to be a millionaire by becoming an affiliate straight away. And most people, they jumped into that thing. They didn't really put any effort behind it and didn't get much in the way of results. Personally speaking, from AliExpress, we tested it years ago, and, you know, to be honest, the quality of the products was not good. But also, if you're trying to build a brand and everybody's ordering from the same thing, well, it's just going to be a ton of branded products that all look the exact same on Amazon. And Amazon customers aren't stupid. Like, they can see clearly these are all the exact same. So it becomes a commodity game then, because they're looking for the lowest price only for that exact item. So I wouldn't recommend AliExpress at all for that.
I think as well, I'm a bit of a stickler for numbers in terms of the numbers that go to make up your product. Numbers being cost pricing, you know, all about dimensions. I'm a real pain in the ass whenever we're doing that. But especially with AliExpress, yeah, you can back me up on that one. With AliExpress, you're not going to be able to get those correct numbers from day one, because, as Tom mentioned, you know, your cost pricing is going to be different from the guy sitting in his flat selling on AliExpress than what you would have from a bona fide either supplier or, again, as Tom mentioned, like a trading company. Don't be afraid of a trading company. Deal with them. They're going to have more access to the action stock, but also access to a cost price that you can have for a longer period of time. If you don't have the correct cost price at the start, I would then argue, what are you going to sell the product for? Are you going to do your numbers based on what you've paid or what you will pay in the future? Because if you have a product that you're maybe paying twice as much to start with than what you will be, if you sell it for twice as much, you're not going to sell the same numbers. So therefore, your numbers and your data is going to be skewed. Whereas if you have the correct numbers at the start, then you can charge the correct price ongoing, and so on and so forth. Your product starts building. So I would always recommend going, trying to find a source and negotiate. You know, a lot of guys, they may say 1,000 pieces. Negotiate. What's the worst they can say is no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for this amazing jam-packed two-day session here. My question was more about Amazon Prime Day. Since that was a new circumstance for Amazon, you probably each had some amazing experiences on your own, whether they led to long-lasting, did it lead to a temporary boost or a long-lasting boost, and they might do it again. So is this an event that may turn into a regular thing that we should prepare for, just like each holiday season? I was just, if you had any thoughts on that, that would be cool.
Whenever anyone says anything about something being Black Friday or like Black Friday, it's going to be a good day. And unfortunately, unlike Christmas, where it just keeps on getting better and continues, I don't know what you guys can share about your experiences, but I think I went out there for a second. We saw about a 300% increase for that one day. And I missed the deadline to do the lightning deals. But the reason why we saw that kind of increase is because they advertised for us. It was all over the place. They said it was going to be great deals. And even though we didn't do any lightning deals, we have it set up so we're always on sale the way we taught you how to do it. And so I know there's a lot of us that, I don't think any of us did lightning deals. Did anyone? Oh, look at Janae did lightning deal. But I know some in our mastermind, that Lorette didn't, and she had a great day. You know, we did really well. And I hope they do more days like that. That's great. You know, whenever they do sales like that, it's going to help us get more customers that get them a reason to buy. So.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know that expression, right? All boats rise with the tide. Well, most boats. If you've got a hole in it, it's not going to rise. But it's not going to affect your BSR. Yeah, your sales will go up, but everybody's sales goes up. So it shouldn't really affect that when Prime's over. But one thing I do is I've got some super duper ninja stuff I like to pull on people occasionally and on my own brands. I save it for those days. Yeah, you don't want to, shoot your ammo off on a regular day on a boring Monday. Who cares, man? Save it for those days and mac it, make hay while the sun shines. So all you guys, are just starting, right? You don't know your super ninja tactics. You don't need to right now because you're still, sourcing your product. You're just getting going. But over time, as you, discuss things in the Facebook group and you gain your own experience, 2 years, you'll be sitting up here too, probably some of you, because you'll find a new way, a different way, and things are always changing, right? The only constant is change. So you'll discover these things and you'll share it amongst your mastermind groups, and just save it for those days.
If you get invited to do lightning deals, take advantage of it. It's really good to push product through very quickly. You only have to offer 20% off your current sale price. And yeah, people grab them up. I was offered to do lightning deals sometime in July, the end of the month, and I submitted it and they accepted my products and they said, okay, well, we'll get back to you as to when we're going to run it. And what I understood, that was not going to be Prime Day because that was July 15th. So they said sometime, the 20th to 22nd, but we'll get back to you to the day. And one day, I don't know, I didn't realize it was the 15th, and I saw someone say on Facebook, it's Prime Day, how's your sales doing? I said, well, everybody seems to be doing all right. Well, I guess I'll just take a look. And I'm like, whoa, apparently my lightning deals hit this morning, and even without the lightning deals, I had a record day. It beat my Cyber Monday last year, so yeah, I had a record day.
You want to share the number for the day?
Mm-hmm.
You want to share the sales number for the day?
I don't remember.
Oh, come on, it was your best day ever.
I know it was my best day ever.
And close 15?
I think I had
18?
I think I had $1,000 or 1,000 products, 1,000 units.
20?
You have the exact number? What is it?
But sales volume, you remember? $27,000 one day.
47.
Oh my gosh. Why are you not teaching the whole weekend?
Well,
47,000 in one day?
Remember what I said about the tide rises and it brings up all boats. So it wasn't just the lightning deals, it was everything across the board. So everybody did really well. So, yeah. But what I noticed, and I've been told, you do the lightning deals, it's great to push product and everything, and especially to cycle through inventory, great for a quick shot of revenue, but it doesn't do anything for BSR. I tend to disagree with him because although it may not be a long-term thing, I got badges on both of those products. As temporary as they were, and even though I'd sold out, they were a little bit sticky. So even though I just put some FBM product real quick to keep the listing live, it gave them a good boost. They were, I submitted these, my dud products. I was like, oh yeah, take these. I need to get rid of these. I've got enough inventory for you to blow through. Now I'm having to order more because now reviews are coming in and their conversion is going up. So yeah, it's nice to take advantage of it whenever you can.
And I guarantee you, Janae had the inventory to hold that out because you learned to make sure that inventory is in there. You really didn't know it was the 15th?
What?
You didn't know it was that day?
Well, I realized it was the 15th, but they did not tell me they were running my lightning deal.
Right, but you knew it was going to be a good day, though.
Well, yeah, I expected it to be all right, but nobody knew what to expect. It's the first time they've done it, I guess. So, I said, honestly,
awesome.
they were supposed to get back to me on the date they were doing the lightning deals, or I would have looked. I didn't realize they had run that morning.
Yeah.
So.
There's rumors they might do it quarterly, is what Shane just said. So, anyway.
I think as well, in terms of what you're asking is, does it skew numbers? What sort of planning can you do for it? I don't really feel that it really changes the numbers if you're doing your planning longer out. Yes, they will give you a wonderful day for sure, but over maybe the course of a month or 2 months, it doesn't skew your numbers for planning. So therefore, you can still keep planning, but just make sure that you have units there for that particular day. Have them in FBA, be prepared, sooner. I would always go with, generally speaking, we like to have about 3 months stock in Amazon at any one time on all the different countries. And the nice thing about 3 months stock is it actually allows us to really plan and we basically bring in every single one of our items by sea. So we do not air freight or air freight any products whatsoever, because to me, it's a profit killer. I like to take that profit, we call it the profit sponge, and if you ship by sea, you're squeezing that sponge, dimes and nickels fall out. So by using planning and taking the sea freight transit times on the chin because you've planned it, it makes a lot of sense.
With that said, though, not in the beginning, like these guys are not in that place yet. Yes?
Yeah, absolutely. You are going to need to bring in initial stock, and you're probably going to have a wee bit of speed. Speed's something I don't really like, but you can always use a little bit of a trick that we would always say to people is, if you've got 1,000 pieces and you're going to ship it in by air, you don't need the 1,000 pieces on day one. You maybe only need 100 pieces or 200 pieces. So ship the 200 pieces by air and ship the 800 by sea. Then whenever your sales start, the cavalry of the 800 then arrives, which you can then put into Amazon.
Yeah, one thing we're actually doing for our own sellers is we are putting on containers on soon. It's going to be happening in a freight club, we call it. It's going to be happening ongoing, whereby if you're bringing in an LCL, a less than container load on the water, it can be quite expensive, a bit of a premium you would pay to your freight forwarder. We're going to alleviate that by putting on our own containers, allowing people to buy space inside the container at a far reduced rate. So you could take what Robert's saying, a little bit of air, mix it in with putting some into something like that, and you'll make a lot more money. So we can talk about that another time, but I just wanted to mention that's an initiative we brought in to help that.
I was just going to add on to what your comment was as far as planning ahead. Is it in our case we observed that it was our top 10 to 15 products that were on page 1.
No, you said be closer to mouth.
Yeah. Okay. So it was our top 10 to 15 products that were typically on page 1 or page 2 that were in FBA that typically they had the 200% sales increase on Prime Day. So as far as planning goes, obviously take that into consideration. It's not necessarily your entire inventory. It's the ones who would normally sell well are going to get a lot more exposure on days like that.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think as well, just coming back to what Stephen was saying there on sea freight, whenever you are doing, at the start, maybe you're only doing 1 or 2 cubic meters, that can be relatively expensive compared to shipping a full container. And that's why we all obviously wanted to put that on, because if you have 28 cubic meters inside a 20-foot container and you've got 14 people that cooperatively ship the units, well, then you can start to ship at a much reduced rate as a co-op. Together we're stronger and all that.
Nice. First, I think for the event was like very valuable. I'm from Brazil, and I don't know if I need to open like a LLC in US or in my country to sell on Amazon.com.
Well, right,
Yeah.
go ahead. I was going to say, are you at a point yet where you need one?
No,
So why are you worried about it?
just to know.
Okay, it's just a note
Yeah.
for future. What kind of volume would you guys think before he would need to even think about that?
Well, I think there's a few things you have to consider. Like, I mean, it depends what kind of products you're selling. And the reason I say that is because from a legal standpoint, as a sole proprietor, if that's the kind of, if that's what you were doing in, say, Brazil, you don't have limited liability when you're a sole proprietor. So, if anything bad happens, touch wood, it doesn't. If it was some product, somebody hurts themselves or something like that, you're personally liable. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but, you're liable yourself at that. But if you're not selling products that are, could be dangerous, it is a way to start. But we often say personally, if it's not particularly expensive to do it, we always look to set up for success, for a foundation for success. And, I don't know the exact taxation in Brazil, and so I think it would be difficult to give you an accurate, that versus LLC is better. But I think it depends what your product is selling to start with. And in terms of volume, it's tricky because I would often say start with a limited company, but again, that's just my opinion. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah, I think as well, though, and just in general, yeah, of course in the UK for sure, but even as a sole proprietor, which you can't be if you're in America, you get that same tax benefit in the UK. But I think to me, I like to set up a foundation for success. And if you can speak to a CPA, because an accountant in Brazil is going to give you advice because they're not going to charge you up front because they want to get you in as a client ongoing. So I would call them and ask them what the position is. Robert might have an even better answer here as well for you, actually.
Yeah, I would go with either a limited company or whatever that variation is in your home country, or an American LLC, depending on which one gives you the tax advantage, because both are technically the same. Both your vehicles you can operate in .com, and it's really about the tax advantage. That's the only real difference there,
Yeah.
and versus the ease of setting it up.
And
in
you
Europe,
want-
it has to be a UK limited company. For me, I wouldn't use anything else.
Yeah, you want to speak to your accountant about removing capital from a Brazilian company and all bringing it across and all that kind of stuff. All stuff we can't really advise on. Putting my little lawyer's hat on for a sec, but I would just ring a CPA. That'd be the best thing to do.
The other thing that you may want to check into would be whenever you're actually importing products. If you're importing products as a non-American company, it may be more difficult for you. You might have more hurdles to jump over.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
All right. Wayne Gretzky, famous hockey player, was interviewed, and somebody asked him what made him so great. And he said, I didn't skate to where the puck is. I skated to where it was going. So knowing the game is changing with us, more competition coming in, you're killing us with the news that there's an ASM 6.
It's a good
but
thing.
what are maybe a couple of components in your businesses that you guys are looking to really tighten up, and you're looking 12 months down the road saying, these are the things that I have to do now to get ready for this?
I would say for us, it's more products, more countries, and pretty much as simple as that. I mean, we're not in Japan. We know people who are. We're going to move there. China is tricky to get into at the moment, so we'll see. But India is something else we're looking at as well. And obviously, Poland, Czech Republic are coming on too. So we're just going to keep expanding into more and more countries because It makes a lot of sense. We can use our current inventory, bring in more. We know the suppliers and all of that. So that would be one of our focuses. And I think then we both said we want to add a lot more products in now as well, because we can launch them across multiple countries at one time, which is great from a risk standpoint or whatever for us, because if we have to order 500 or whatever, well, we can split out the 500 over multiple countries now. We don't just sell in one country, so it's nice for us, and it also increases something that I'll let Robert talk about now, because he likes talking about it. It's something we have an annual investment multiplier. I think it'd be worth covering now, just to mention that when we talk about flip time, and this reduces the flip time for us, as in the amount of time it takes for us to sell out our initial inventory, which allows us to recycle our money more and more into this investment multiplier. So if you want to cover that, you can.
Yeah, I think the majority of people, as you sort of mentioned, if there's more and more people coming on, more competition, they're going to they're going to try and do the easy things. A lot of people look at it from the outside in and say, this is an easy thing to do. It's easy if you know how. It's like everything else. So to me, it's about doing things slightly different, optimizing not just listings and keywords, but optimizing all parts of our businesses. And things like the annual investment multiplier that we talk about, to me, I'm in this business to make money. I'm not in to sell products. I'm not in it for the love of anything else. It's about money. So I look at it from an investor's mindset as opposed to like a business person or an entrepreneur. I don't see myself as that. I see myself as an investor.
Most entrepreneurs don't make money, by the way. Investors make a lot of money.
Yeah. And so we invest money in products which then sell. So we look at it with this annual investment multiplier, which is whenever you invest money in a product and it flips a certain number of times in the year. So let's say that we buy a product for $1 and by the time we get it back into our hands again, it's become $2. So we've doubled our money. That would then be an annual multiplier of 2. But if we can do that twice in a year, so we can buy stock and we sell out the initial batch in 6 months, and we can then use all the money to reinvest again, the annual investment goes up to 4 because we've doubled our money and we've doubled it twice. Now, if we can then optimize our stock, so did we need the 1,000 pieces, or could we have ordered 500 pieces and sold it out in 90 days or 3 months? That will double my investment by just doing that one little thing. Or could I take my 500 pieces that I've now ordered and could I sell it in 3 different countries? So therefore, bringing my investment multiplier up again because my flip time has gone down. So I would look at all these little bits that those other people will not be doing. They don't know about it. They're doing the easy things.
I was going to say, as far as looking forward for us, it's going to be more, we're relying less on Amazon to sell products for us, getting more control over your own sales. For us, we're probably going to do that through more list building and pre-launch.
I'm just mainly looking to add more people so I can do more products faster. So,
Brian, you mentioned once in the group you were looking at Jet.com. They just went live. Did you flip the switch on that yet, or are you doing anything there?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. Looking at other marketplaces that are popping up, Jet.com, for example, is going to spend, I think I saw a figure of $60 million in the next, few months on marketing. So, and all the brands that are there right now are just big brands. Think about this. There's no review system yet. So just imagine that. Talk about Wild West. There's all these big brands that don't know how to follow up with their customers and get reviews. So you could be the Lone Ranger with 100 reviews and everyone else has 0 still. So that's going to be a major player in my opinion. But also to echo what these guys said, getting off into your own, whether it's a Shopify store or whatever, so you can control those upsells much better and just hit that customer over and over with new products is where I'm headed as well.
Okay.
And I just wanted to add to that also is when you're getting the new products is to make your products more unique and different. So the exercise that you were doing with the crowdfunding was really good when he was saying adding in the modifier, like how do you make it cooler? You know, somebody was doing a cat scratcher. If you're selling a cat scratcher with a bonus laser light, you know, so make yours different than other people. Instead of just a cat scratcher, how can you make it unique?
Yeah, I totally agree with everything everyone said. And to Lorette's point, you know, making your product unique, and there's all different kinds of ways to do that. And once you start selling really well, you can start thinking about things, well, instead of adding a bonus product, well, I'll front that money to get a new injection mold made to make mine unique. And if you can get patents on that, I mean, so much the better. Obviously, you're not there yet. But you know what? In a couple of years, we're going to be having a very different conversation because this is still a great time to get in, but things are changing. A lot of people talk about the great cull coming. And that's if, you know, I'm selling this microphone and there's 1,000 other sellers selling the exact same microphone with a different name on it. How do we know Amazon's not going to come along and say, nah, now you're all commingled? And they're going to throw a buy box on there. You have to compete for it. I don't know. Maybe that will never happen. But let's position ourselves in a place where that won't affect us. So by having a unique product, by throwing another product in, making a variation that no one else has, that will protect us. I mean, obviously, I'm in a little bit, and going back to the jet Brian's talking about, Alibaba, and I think I mentioned this to a group of you guys the other day. I'm super excited, man. Let's get them here and kicking butt. We know they got the money. We know they got brains. Let's start making them compete for our business, right? So I embrace that. I hope they come with guns blazing to take down Amazon. And I think Dave mentioned the other day, Amazon's the guys with a target on their back and a few arrows in there, and they've pissed off a lot of us. I mean, they're still a great thing. It's their platform. Got to play by their rules. Yeah, just deal with it. But, you know, we all know we'd love to jump on another platform as well. Getting your own e-commerce is so important, so important. Insulating your brands when you're ready for it is so important. You know, insulate them, use separate LLCs, use a VPS, all that stuff you learned, it's really important. You're not there yet. And then for someone like me, when I first started with a certain product, I'd like, maybe it would be 3 months or 2 months. I could order the product, it would take them 15 days to produce it, I'd throw it on a boat, it would come 15 days later, bam, 5 days on Amazon. I'm starting to see supply chains stretched. I'm starting to hear about factories not accepting new customers. So now what I'm doing is I'm trying to dominate supply chains. So a few things I do is I'll deal with a sourcing agent in China who's got an inroad. I'll lease a factory floor. That's my factory floor. I'll buy the raw materials for it. Or I'll make a deal with the factory. You give me your capacity. I'll pay you that each month. You kick out everybody else. So now what I do is I dominate that one factory that used to service a dozen, and I'm putting more pressure on the other factories, forcing everyone else supply chain to be even longer. And that's the kind of shit that we're going to have to deal with and we're going to have to do. Because what else are you going to do? What, I have to wait 6 months now for my order? I have to do one massive order each year? It's getting crazy. And that's a lot of risk. It's a lot of inventory. It's a lot of stuff on scene. It's a lot of money to have tied up. And so, you know, that's when you start to, you know, negotiate net terms and do all those different things to, you know, cash is king, right? Your cash flow is so important. So.
That's pretty good, don't you think? All right. And I agree with everything they said, Harrison. So, but diversifying. You think about it as from an investment standpoint. You know, would you put all your eggs in one basket? No, you're going to diversify, and this is just diversifying in a different way. You're diversifying your product business in all the ways that you just said.
And one more quick thing about that, and this isn't meant as a doom or gloom. We all know the political situation between the United States and China. We know the posturing between Japan and China. We hear about this cyber war being declared and all this bullshit. You know what? Will trade tariffs be thrown up? I don't know. If you look back in history, that's what happens. Most of my stuff comes from China, but I'm looking at Pakistan, I'm looking at India, I'm getting some stuff from the States. Is the majority going to come from China? Yeah. If China gets shut down or there's big problems or they decide to throw up an anti-dumping tariff, will it piss me off and hurt me? Yeah. But at least I'll have something else going on, maybe production in Vietnam or Taiwan or Korea, whatever. I'm just saying, obviously you've got one product, whatever. But as you start growing and you're looking for those other things to add to your brand, maybe start to think about other areas just so you don't have all your eggs in one basket.
Rich?
All right, if you could brute force a product launch by giving away 250 units, would you do that all at once, or would you drip feed it like 20 units at a time over 2 weeks to kind of fly under the radar?
20 units at a time, 20 units a day, bang, until you're done with what you need, with what you want to give away.
Anyone else?
You didn't say give away 250, did you?
Well, maybe $1.99.
Oh, in my opinion, and you guys correct me if you think any differently, I don't give away products anymore. I go $1.99, and that's because giving away is only getting you some reviews. Reviews aren't as impactful as they once were. BSR is more important, and if you go above $1.92, I'd like to make it a little bit better, $1.99. It'll impact your BSR as well. You guys agree on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. And the funny thing, it's like you're a Hollywood star, right? You're young, you go there, you're all excited about the Hollywood business. You'll do anything to get that screencast, right? Same thing with your new products. You'll do anything to get it ranked. Once you start selling your heavyweight brand, you've been around for a year, 2, 3 years, maybe 5%, 10% if you're lucky. I mean, think about the big brands. Do they just give their stuff away or half off today? No way. And it starts to cheapen your product. Obviously, we have different product lines, and you might be selling dollar store stuff, and that's okay. I mean, we're all doing different stuff, but just be aware it's something you do in the beginning, and I never, ever, ever give away stuff away anymore. I might do 2 or 3 if I need a few little reviews or something. That's it, because it does nothing for your BSR anymore. Any of those services out there that take your money and they give your product away and they put their affiliate tag on there for their commissions, don't do it. Yeah, you'll get a spike. You might get the #1 bestseller badge. Big deal if you drop down to infinity the next morning. Like, who cares, right? So always add some value, and Amazon puts less and less weight on those coupons, especially if they're deep discount. If you're selling something for $1, it doesn't count for much. Get a few reviews and that's it. Then give them a deal, absolutely. 50% off, for 100 units? Yeah, sure, why not? But
Just a psychological tip, don't use 99, use 97. 97, 47, 2 magic numbers. So yeah, 197 or 1197, $47, $97.
I usually use 95 myself, but I try to stay away from that 92 as possible because
Yes.
Amazon might adjust that BSR, and I don't want to be close to it.
I'm just saying psychologically, make your sale price with 97 cents at the end.
I agree.
I'm going to throw another spanner in the works here. We've never given away a single product, ever, on launch. It's a different way of doing it. There's no one way is correct or anything like that. So I would also maybe test another method. We do a lot of front-loading research on our products. So that's where we put in the real time and blood and sweat, so that whenever it comes to actually launching, we don't feel like we have to give it away. We allow it to bed in. As I said, not one way is correct. So I would always say to maybe try different mechanisms. Maybe with one of your products, do a lot more front-loaded research and everything else, and let it slip organically and see what happens there. I know it's going to be more difficult, let's say, in the US because of the competition that's out there than what it would be, let's say, in Europe. But there are hidden gems out there that you can find on products, and they do not have to be home runs, as we say. Slow and steady sales is what you can also go for. And having different elements to your business is going to make it a lot stronger than just using one mechanism every single time you launch a product.
Hi, everyone. Thank you guys for coming. We definitely learned a hell of a lot, and we all have had a lot of fun, especially me. My question for you guys is, looking at where you are today with knowledge and education and experience, and having made it and lost it and made it and so forth, what's one thing that you would do, that you would have done differently?
I would have made friends with Shane sooner.
Okay.
I didn't know who he. I didn't know who Shane was when I went to the ASM4 event. My point is, well, I joke around with Shane a lot because I'm good buddies with him now. At least I like to think I'm good buddies with you, but not to Shane, but to make more relationships like this, like I've created here, because that has made all the difference, not only in my business, but these are my friends. okay? You guys are making friends this weekend here. The people that are not here, they're going to get the information. It won't be as impactful, and they're not going to make the friends. You guys are going to, I mean, to me, this is a lot more than business. You know, I mean, obviously, Robert, we're here to make money, but I'm also, you know, this means a lot to me. This is like some of you guys talked about. This is family, you know. And I started a little bit on my own in the beginning, and it would have been a lot easier if we would have started making these relationships sooner.
I agree. I think that if I went back and started, I would have had myself more ready for scalability quicker, because that's usually the killer for most people. They order their product, inventory, they spend $500 or $2,000 or whatever, they get it, they sell out, they've got that lag time inventory, and that's okay. But that reinvestment amount, I mean, you know, if you think you're going to get a 40% margin, you know, after you tally in all these little costs or software and Aweber, all these little things, you know, it eats away at it. So you always end up with a little bit less than you think, especially when you're starting, before you really get established and you start to smooth those things out. If you have the ability to access, I'm not saying necessarily financing, but I certainly would have moved a lot quicker if I had access to more capital earlier. And that could just be, you know, a $5,000 line of credit with your local bank, or Cabbage, or I mean, there's all kinds of different, you know, credit sources, or a rich uncle, I don't know. I think that would have made a big difference, and I would have moved a lot quicker. That being said, I wouldn't have just gone into massive debt on a hope and a dream. You know, it was already, the product was proving itself. I had that initial few orders. I thought, okay, at this rate, it's going to take me a long time. It wasn't until that financing kicked in, things went to the roof. I quit my job. Everything started to roll.
Thank you.
Outsource as soon as possible. Okay.
Are you talking like products and research, or are you talking everything from like VA press? You know what I mean? Like everything, or just
as much as you
I
can.
personally don't agree with outsourcing product selection and research.
I agree.
I think that should be my baby. This is my business. This is
Right.
where my expertise lies now, is in product selection and research. My first thing I outsourced was customer service. She does, and her list is it matches Lorette's. I mean, exactly. So, and that took so much stress. Even if I didn't have a whole ton of time invested, it took so much stress because, you know, I took it personally every time somebody had a little problem with my product, you know? So she takes care of all of the customer service, all of the reviews, all of the feedback. She creates cases in Amazon. She does all of that, and I don't have to worry about it. So I would have outsourced that a lot sooner, and then I would have created SOPs and outsourced even more quickly.
Okay, next.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. First is, I would like to understand a little bit about like the services offered by like Tom Lean. How is it different from hiring our own sourcing agent? Like, do we get the same pricing if I work with you versus hiring our own sourcing agent?
Okay, first of all, sourcing agents. This is really the first time I've heard of when the first, what's their names?
Paul.
Paul.
Paulson.
Yeah, in China, it's a very different world to what you guys would understand. It's a very tricky world. Sourcing, generally, doing business in China is quite tricky. So for someone to hire one single person to do everything in China, I'm not sure if that's what they were recommending, but that is quite dangerous because they get kickbacks from factories. They could potentially make more than you. Even my own staff, I've been talking to a lot of people. I'm not trying to say, you know, bad things about these, but from what I know from China, I've lived there for 10 years. It's a very tricky place. Even my own staff, I've got 13 sourcing staff in my company, and I have so many processes in there to control them, to check up they're not, you know, adding, you know, few cents here. The factory gives it to me for $1. he said, charge my company $1.50 and give me the 50 cents. That happens every day in China. So the way they were saying about hiring one person, it's tricky, and it's potentially, they give you, they're the direct contact to you in China. So this is the factory's bank account. Send money here. They can give you their own bank account. They can make up a new company. So it's quite tricky. So it's better to deal with a company, a larger company, where they can't just move their, the operation one day. But if you're dealing with one person, be very careful. That's my advice to you.
Yeah, and sometimes agents, Tom might correct me, but from our experience, sometimes with agents, they actually have to pay the money to the factory whenever the stuff is leaving. They're paying it themselves, and obviously, if you're paying 30% deposit and 70%, say 2 weeks before it arrives, you have to rely on the fact as well that their cash flow is good and that they are managing their business correctly so that your stuff can leave the factory. As we've had problems in the past, Robert will probably tell you about as well a bit more, with that kind of thing, whereby we were delayed on certain products because this agent, he didn't say it, but clearly the guy did not have enough money to release the goods from the factory. So you got to be careful with that as well, and what Tom's saying is correct. Robert will give you a little bit more info on that.
Yeah, I think if they're actually dealing with the factory on your behalf, there's two things from that we've sort of come up against is the fact that Stephen's talking about. If they don't have the cash flow, they could actually be utilizing your cash flow to pay for the next man in line, and so on and so forth. I'm sure Tom will probably back that up. As well as, if you're using a sourcing agent, you may never know the factory. So therefore, if your sourcing agent falls out with them, has a disagreement, or stops communicating with you, you've lost access to that product. That has happened to us, and it's not so easy to actually find. Sometimes if we're using an agent, what we'll do is we'll use the agent to negotiate, but we'll find the factory first, and then we can move somebody in. But as Tom was saying, deal with a bigger company that has more clout, I think is definitely the way to go.
Thank you. My second question is...
Oh, hang on. No, we're only doing one each.
Oh, I'm sorry.
One each. Sorry, so we're going to give everyone a chance. But you want to hop back in, and maybe we'll fit as many as we can. So go ahead.
I guess I just want to talk about Christmas a little bit. I don't see my product as a big Christmas item. Am I misunderstanding that? I mean, is every item a big item at Christmas?
Peter, what happens when you don't mentally see something going to be big? If you don't see it being big, it's not going to be big. You already failed in your mind. That's what I think Peter would answer that question. She says she doesn't see herself selling her product big.
No, I just mean for Christmas. I mean, we're supposed to gear up for inventory for Christmas, but if you're in a niche market with certain people buying that, I don't see that as an item that someone's going to go pick up. I mean,
You didn't get extra vitamin C for Christmas?
Right. So...
Depends on the market.
It's relatively legitimate.
market.
So many of the answers are going to be product specific.
Say that again, I didn't hear it.
Supplements, there's people making a ton of money in the supplement industry.
Right.
After all, they're going to buy your product this month, and next month, and next month, and next month. But it's also very, very cutthroat, and you don't get vitamin C for Christmas, do you?
No.
My dad used to put rocks in our stockings on the fireplace. I got extra rocks at Christmas. Niche specific is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so
It's okay to have a product that isn't going to kill it at Christmas.
Okay.
Most products are going to do very well during the Christmas time.
Okay.
If there's products that are not going to do well, they're going to do well in January. It's basically what I think we're saying. You won't know specifically for your product until you go through a season, and then you're going to know. So, but like I was saying, I want you to believe first.
Right.
And then most products are going to sell 3 or 4 times more volume during the Christmas season than at regular times of the year.
Okay, so if I get inventory now, I've got some coming up, a second product coming up shortly. If it's let's say just a not a home run, but a 2 or 3 product a day item and that runs consistently for like the next month, then for the month of December, it might be a 10 product a day item. And that's what I need to plan for. I just want to know how to plan, I guess.
And the thing is, this is going to be, and you guys can speak to your experience with that. This is going to be my third Christmas, and I'm in this business, not my third Christmas. I mean, I'm only 3. I still don't know how to handle it correctly. Okay. My whole point is that it's going to change and evolve for you. And because you're just starting as a seller, you really don't know what your product can do until you get through an entire year, really. That's how I would answer that.
Expect 3 to 10 times, unless you're in a niche like supplements, 3 to 10 times. And if you're like a seasonal product like a grill brush, okay, you're selling your grill brush. I remember an ASM1 guy made a killing on his grill brushes when ASM came out. And then come school time, and he didn't sell anything. What he needs to do, and what everybody with a seasonal product needs to do, make it seasonal. Possibly a new variation in Christmas packaging with an accessory. I change my images every month according to the season. Not my main image, but some of my alternate images. Happy Mother's Day from my company, whatever. So do that for Christmas. Make it more gift-like if it's more of a not a winter season kind of thing.
That helps. Thank you.
Okay.
I think as well, if you're going to be doing inventory, you're generally speaking, no matter what product it is, it does seem to sell more at Christmas, even though it's not seasonal. As Brian was saying, Amazon ramps up their advertising. People are in the spending mood. They may be on looking at something that they traditionally buy for Christmas, but they see your item there and they think, oh, that's good, I'll get that while I'm here. So it does go up. I would definitely ramp up my inventory, and especially knowing that you've got the feel safe of, January is a good month. In the year, people have got Christmas out of the road and they're coming back in. January is always a good month. So if you overstock a little, you'll always have January to sell it. As well as if you're importing, we obviously always have that troublesome period of Chinese New Year. So having a little bit of extra stock is never a bad thing.
We're going to have to take these last few, let's make these last questions here, and we're going to have to go through them pretty quickly here because it's just about 5 o'clock. So go ahead. I'm sorry, we're on this side. Go ahead.
Okay. Steve and Robert, you guys going to be there tonight at Holiday Inn?
We'll be here till about, is that what you said? We'll be here all
Yeah, if
night?
you're going to be around tonight, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be here for another few hours for sure.
Sweet, awesome. Dave, you mentioned something earlier. You said that in the beginning you order like 100 units. You don't even worry about a logo or anything. You order them, see if it works. How can you get a realistic impression about whether or not the product's going to work? And maybe I misunderstood you. If you don't have a logo on there, if is it all about your photos and your copy compared to the competitors?
As far as if I determine if the product's going to work or not, you mean?
Right, exactly. If you should order more product, if you should pursue that product further.
Well, I go through the whole process that we teach of how to find the process itself. We follow exactly what we teach you.
Right. Okay.
What I shared with, let me put it this way: when I released the book with Robert Kiyosaki, right? I didn't want to release some of that information because that is pure gold. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, maybe I didn't want this out to the masses. Most of the masses have no idea what that is. They don't realize the power of what was in that book. The video that we did on the product selection, for example, that's exactly how I did. You heard my thinking of how I go and find the products. That's exactly how I do it, which is why I said earlier today, I think, that I can put that shower mirror in there because that was a product that I would move forward with. Is anyone in here doing a shower mirror? I bet you if I was at the ASM event in a couple months, if I asked the same question, there's going to be no one that's going to raise their hand. I might raise my hand because I might have that product come in stock. And to answer your question, as far as whether I keep it or not, if product starts selling, if a product is selling, then I'm going to keep going with it. Because if it starts selling, and it starts selling with the basic packaging, and just the basic, I do a little bit of work with the images, but not anything crazy, and it's just the basic product. It's not even premium yet, and it's selling. Now I know I can implement all the stuff that you've learned from all of us, and I can make it a killer product. A killer product doesn't even have to be a home run. So does that answer your question?
Right. So you're just selling a few a day. As long as it's selling something, then you know there's potential to increase those sales.
Oh yeah, if it's selling, yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
I would also, whenever you're starting off on it, do your numbers for what will happen in the future. So in other words, as Dave was saying, maybe if he only orders 100, that his cost price might be slightly higher than if he's ordering 500 or 1,000. Base all your numbers and your selling price on what you will pay in the future, because then at least you're giving your product the best possible chance to start and flourish, rather than maybe crippling it with a higher price.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And just a note about Dave, like when he says that he only does 100 products, whereas I'll do 300 or 500, or I mean, if I have to do 700, I will. Well, obviously, I'm in a different position from when I first started. If Dave's sourcing from the States and you can phone up your supplier in Kansas and he'll start producing for you on Friday and it'll be ready in 2 weeks, that's a little different. If you've got 30 days production time in China and then you got to fly it over and all that stuff, 100 might not be enough. And I wouldn't go that low depending on that. So, I mean, there's no exact thing. It depends on your budget. It depends on all kinds of stuff. The other thing is the mindset. You know, when I first started, I was nervous as shit, just like you guys, right? Oh, I don't want to spend $300 or lose it, right? You're worried about that because you don't know. It's the unknown, right? And it's your mindset. Now, I have to sell this phone, I have to sell that water bottle, this microphone, I'll sell the shit out of it. And you know what? I might not be the #1 bestseller, and that's okay, but I'll sell 3 or 5 a day, and I'll get through that inventory. It might take me 6 months, but I will sell it because I'm confident that I'll get a listing up, you know, I'll optimize it, I'll do whatever I got to do, blah, blah, blah. You know, you'll go through the whole routine, and you'll get that confidence. So as long as you don't jump into the most competitive, you know, if you want to sell Garcia in Cambodia, well, good luck. You're just going to have a real uphill battle. Could you be the #1 seller in Garcia Cambodia? Yeah, you'll have to buy your way to the top, but you could do it. So as long as you're picking a product that's reasonably, you know, decent or unique, or it's not crazy competitive, you will sell it. So don't worry so much about that, because there's no way to project what it's going to sell. You know what Robert was saying too. You don't know those numbers, so you just need to know where you stand. Get your sales data, you sell it your first inventory, you'll run out. That's okay, you know, reorder. You'll start to build up that history, and you'll really figure out where you're going.
You have your product up yet?
I do not.
Get a product up.
Cool.
Yeah, there was a quote at the last ASM event, and you can do the product research that you just follow exactly the way I taught you in that video how to do it. Put 10 products on the wall, throw a dart at whatever it hits, do that one, it'll sell.
I got the product.
Waiting to get your product up is lost opportunity cost.
Right.
For
yeah,
you.
but also, I think there's a bigger thing here. Whenever I started years ago, whenever I started working with Robert, is the same as what Shane was saying there. I was like, I'm spending money. I'm not going to see this money ever again, right? But that's because all through our lives, we're consuming all the time. That's all we do. We consume, and we don't get the money back. Whereas when you go into a business, this is one of the biggest things I learned, is you need to have that investor mindset we talk about and look at it as, I'm buying an asset here that if I've done my numbers correctly on, I can double my money, or whatever the case may be. We always want to double our money. So if you're buying something that you can double your money on, well, let's say it doesn't work very well for you. You can just cut the price down to cost, move it on to eBay as well, get rid of it. But the reality is you're not really going to lose a whole lot if you do your research correctly and your numbers correctly. So I would just encourage you to look at it as an investor nowadays, rather than I'm buying something and it's gone. I'm not saying that's what you're doing now, but no, that's just something I learned early on whenever I got started.
So we have to do this real quick, and because I know these guys, we have they want to get out of here and clean up because they have to get ready for the church event tomorrow. So hopefully that answered your question there. If we can't totally answer your questions right now, we'll do it over. So just real quick, quick question, because I told you we'll give you a chance, so go ahead.
Tell us about selling in Canada.
Okay, good, great question. Real quick answer is, he's Canadian and he says...
I just sent some inventory to Canadian FBA, and the only reason I did so was because I happen to be in Canada. It's convenient. Some stuff they won't ship across the border, yada, yada. It's only because I'm there. Consider this. There's more people in California than in our entire country. And to further exasperate it, every Canadian, if they're selling or shopping on Amazon, are going to have a .ca and a .com account. So if I go to buy a microphone, I'm going to look on .ca, I'm going to compare the selection prices, which is limited. I'm going to look on .com and see if it ships across the border, any duties, and I'm going to compare the two. So you're kind of, you got the lower common, population, and then you're also filtering more out because they've got dual accounts. You know what? You're better off to go to UK or somewhere else.
Definitely.
Yeah, really, it's.
Okay.
It's to me, it wouldn't be the most logical next expansion step. However, it is about 10% the size of the US. So I'll big up Canada one side. It's about 10% that you can increase your business by. And, would you sell in the US but not sell in the state of New York? Of course you would. So to me, you expand there eventually, but as Shane says, there are better markets.
Are you selling anything hockey related? Maybe then, but no. Terrible joke. I know. I'm a dad.
Focus
so.
on where the big margins are, where the more customers are first, and then eventually to add a 10%. That would be the last country maybe right now to do. Well, maybe the exception of Mexico. They just started. So, okay. All right. So last question.
Thank you all. Tom, this question's for you. How long on average, once you talk with one of your customers, does it take you to normally source them 10 or 12 samples and get it to them so they can make a selection?
10 to 12 samples, probably realistically 5 to 7 days. Because first we got to find a factory, and then we got to get them to send it. And some factories, the shipping time is 2 to 3 days just to get to where we are. China's a big place. And then we got to check it, compare it. If the first batch is not good, we order a second batch from other factories to find you better products. So it takes a few days, yeah.
Faster than I was hoping. Thank you.
All right. Let's give these guys all a big hand, please. All right. You stay for a minute. And I tell you, I don't know if you noticed just from our faces, but we're just as exhausted as you guys are. So this takes a lot of, it's a lot of brain power going on in the room and mentally very draining. And I don't know if you noticed, but just the conversation that you hear us having up here, we're learning just as much as you are. We learn from each other, which is why I was saying, the networking, building those relationships is so key. So that, I think, is a big part. I hope you got a lot of that this weekend, too. And you still have more opportunity with that because you're going to have tonight. And some people are sticking around tomorrow, too. So if you are around tomorrow, just hang out together and get to know each other better.
One thing I'd like to really hammer home is that you're here among peers. You're all in very similar stages in your business. So make sure you make those connections because those are what's going to help propel you forward in the future. And that's ultimately what I know in other businesses I've been building and even on the Amazon side, that's what's really helped me a lot. So make sure you make those relationships. I know I'm going to be at the Hilton probably till
Holiday Inn, right?
6 in the morning.
You can go to Hilton if you want. I think most people are at Holiday Inn, though.
Yeah. I know, oh, yeah.
So, see? Exhausted.
Yeah.
He presented for 30 minutes today. No, 35 maybe? I'm kidding. It's a lot of work. A couple of announcements. So we will go from here. It's going to take us a little while to clean up and help out at the Holiday Inn. We'll hang out over there again, whoever wants to hang out. We had a good time last night. I hope you guys did too. If anyone wants to give some more testimonials, Brian Johnson is going to go in the back room. And so if we do those now, it'd actually be quieter here to do them than over at the Holiday Inn. If you could do that, that'd be awesome. And we have a lot of announcements that are going to be coming out, obviously about Marketplace Superheroes. We'll get something going with these guys. The training doesn't end, guys. I hope you realize this continues. This is an ongoing group thing, and it never changes. Say it again. Oh, thank you very much. That's why I should have put notes together. We put together that survey form in the back. If you guys are like, I want to get out of here now. As long as you get that to us by the end of the evening or something, but if you want to do it now, that's fine. If your feedback helps make this better. The feedback that we got from ASM4 has made it to where it is today. There's always ways to improve. I would like your feedback. We'd all like your feedback so we can continue to make this better and make it more pertinent to you and the new people that are eventually coming on board. So yeah, please take some time to do that.
I just had a quick question, actually. How many people are thinking about going to the ASM event in November? Okay, so
Awesome.
over half. Okay.
Just so you know, this event's going to be better. This was better. You'll see. Seriously, there's people that, remember Paul Sinclair? I think he, on the Facebook, some people said, hey, what should we do? Should we go to the event in Arizona, or should we wait for the, and what did Paul say? Go to the Kettner Team of Live event. Unfortunately, some people decided to go to the other one. It's going to be a great time, don't get me wrong. But there's more learning, more relationships going to be built here, and you're going to be glad that you guys came here. So if you could do that survey, that'd be great. You'll see on that survey, there's a question on there that if people are interested, now we did this to the rest of the group, the ASM4 and ASM3 members that we have, we will be setting up that private mastermind event. And we'll probably be doing it for right around that amount, and we're probably going to be doing it in Jamaica. We're probably going to be doing it through Lorette and her husband. And I'm not sure, I have to speak to her. We're going to talk about it tomorrow, but we're going to do that soon. If you can do it, great. If you can't, just know that we're going to probably be doing that at least once a year. And that's going to be something where we're going to be in a smaller setting. We're going to do some really hands-on stuff with your computers, implementing things right there on the spot, and we're going to have a lot of fun too as well. Okay? But if it's something that you would like to do maybe in the future, say, hey, that sounds like a great idea, but I need to make some money first. Write that down there. Because that's what our ASM4 members said. They said, hey, this is going to be awesome, but we need to start making $10,000 a month first. Okay, great. I totally get that. But that's the things that we're doing with our group. And so, some of these courses that are going to be coming out, just know when you're ready for it. We don't want to stress you guys out with that. So, all right? So, oh, great. Thank you. ASM6. The dates on ASM6, the first video 1 is going to come out on September 29th. CART will open on October 7th, I think he said, and then it'll close around the 15th of October. We'll be sending you some information. That's, again, we're going to get together and talk more about that tomorrow, how we're going to do that. And we don't know the cost yet. I know on the phone with Matt the other day, they're trying to come up with some ideas of how to do it, again, to help the new people be more successful. They might add an aspect to it to help people get inventory and even do it through them and help take away that hurdle that some people are like, oh, I just can't decide on the product. So they might add that cost in. They haven't decided yet. But dates are locked in September 29th, so we'll get information to you guys soon about that. And yeah, I mean, if you guys think that this is a great opportunity, great business to be in, and you want to promote people through us, and we'll pay you for that, and they can become part of our team. We provide them all the bonuses, and then you actually, as the you sharing that with us, then you also get the bonuses again. So any bonuses that we put together, you'll get that, including the next live event. If you don't do that, and you still want to come to the next live event, the people were paying, I think it was $397 per person. So, I mean, if you start thinking about the cost that you get, it's really worth it to do it through us, plus we do all the support as well. So, anyway, we'll be talking more about that. If you guys have questions about that, you can catch us later. But definitely, if you can give some good feedback on that forum, thank you for reminding me. And again, any testimonial videos would be great. So we'll be talking, we'll be in communication with you guys, and we'll see you guys tonight. Okay? Any other last minute or anything? All right, guys, thanks again. Thank you for a great weekend.